Welcome to Ripped from Reddit. I'm your host Daniel. r/Askreddit. What is the stupidest thing you have ever done? I once tested out a jammed nail gun on the palm of my hand. It was no longer jammed. Jesus Christ. There it is. Surprised it took this long. Usually it takes about 3 days. This joke will always get resurrected. A week after getting my license, I decided to take a spontaneous road trip 300 miles to visit a pen pal in the next state over I had never met before. The stupid part is I told no one I was going, namely my parents, because I knew they'd freak, and when I was there, my car spun out while driving, and I popped a couple tires. Well, I got one replaced, and the other full of fix-a-flat. Then my genius ass remembered I had to work the next day, so I decided, let's see how fast my Civic can go. Maximum the speedometer at 125 for 2 minutes non-stop at one point. With fix-a-flat. Oh, and I totally got lost and didn't make it to work on time. How I managed to make it home, let alone not getting pulled over, is still a mystery to me. Did you end up meeting your pen pal though, and was it worth it? Yes, and not really. It was a time in my life where a lot of relationships I formed then faded into obscurity. I ran over my mom with a golf cart when I was 7. I did this to accept it was grandpa. He promised me we wouldn't tell my grandma if I didn't tell anyone he was gonna smoke a cigar. That is hilarious. Did she laugh, or did you cop it? She wasn't laughing because I broke her foot, but it was one of those moments as a kid where you don't realize the consequences. I made a bet with my friends for a bag of hot Cheetos that I could swallow a biscuit whole without any water. Long story short, my attempt went south. This dry biscuit got lodged in my throat and I couldn't breathe for more than 30 seconds. I eventually knocked it out, but not without some panicking. I very well could have passed out or died by choking like this. I never got my bag of Cheetos. Sounds like you earned that bag. Finally gathered the courage to tell my high school girlfriend that we weren't working and that I wanted to break up. While forgetting that particular day was her birthday. Sophomore year was a ton of fun. Edit. It is also important to note that this was a phone call. Did you go full Mosby on her and get back together a few years later to dump her again on her birthday? Ouch. Better yet was my decision to smooth things over with a donut and an iced coffee the next morning at her locker. I have to live with these hopelessly moronic decisions all of 9 years later. I put the entire lump of wasabi they give you at sushi restaurants in my mouth. That makes my eyes water and nasal passages burn just reading about it. Nah, the trick is you just treat it like a shot of alcohol. No chewing or swishing, right to the back of the throat and swallow. Can't taste something if it's not in your mouth. I also have done this on a dare, if you couldn't tell, mainly to get someone else to do it after me. They didn't do so well. I was working out with some good buddies back in high school during the summer between our junior/senior year. It was pretty early on in our working out, and I was a pretty chubby kid for the most part. However, my friends were pretty fit and did workouts like ours pretty regularly. Naturally I was ready to listen to whatever they had to say on what workouts I should be doing. My friend B goes up to the closed garage door. We worked out in his garage to do a handstand push-up. Pretty sick, looks cool, and I'm ready to show I'm a fit person now after 2 or 3 workouts. I walk up, proceed to try, and realize how much I weigh, and how much I can lift are vastly different. I go down, but I'm tenacious, persevere. My parents told me in 7th grade, whenever I cried after football practice, so I try again. This time I go up to the garage, and flip my feet up against it, and feel my arm shaking. So instead of crumpling, I slam my back against the garage to slide down easy to the ground. I just happened to slam right into the sharp metal hinge on the inside of the door and proceeded to slide down about 2 inches before I realize I'm in immense pain. I knew it was bad when I asked my friends to look at it and all I heard was a soft "Oh, hey, why don't we go into the kitchen?" I now have a long 2-inch scar on my back. Punched a window out of anger and severed my median nerve causing like 75% paralysis of my right hand and thumb. I guess that's why they call it window pane. I love the way you lie. I almost did a similar thing, only it was a pint glass when I was drunk. Almost didn't even get stitches for it too. I just wrapped my hand with a towel and tried to go to bed. Security followed a trail of blood from the bathroom to my dorm room, and after they saw how bad it was said I had to get it checked out and gave me a ride to the hospital. Doctor told me I was really lucky that I didn't slice my tendon and cause some permanent damage, just have scar shaped like a Nike swoosh from it. When I was 19 my friends and I used to go driving around in my Jeep Wrangler. One day we decided to longboard behind it while holding an extension cord. Think similarly to how people water ski behind a boat. On our first attempt I decided to be the guinea pig. Since it was my idea, things started off fine, so they sped up to like 15 or maybe 20 miles per hour. I decided it was too fast, so I jumped off the board and started running while I dropped the cord on the ground. By some freakish miracle the cord wrapped around my leg and started dragging me. I was dragged for probably a good 100 feet before they were able to get the driver to stop. My underwear got melted to my skin and I had to peel it off, which was one of the most painful things that's ever happened to me. I couldn't sleep on my back for a couple weeks. That's your own dumbass fault. Close down Reddit. We are done. That's it boys. Pack it up. Time to go home. Paid off my now ex-fiancée student debt. My mentality was we are going to be married. It'll be my problem soon anyway. She left me a few months later. Woof. Annoying in retrospect. You still made the right choice though. You trusted her and loved her, and that's the way to go through life. Not doubting everyone. Appreciate that. I try to think of it as having been the right move, but I keep wishing I had waited until after the wedding. I'd be a few thousand richer if I had. I used to set my legs on fire back in middle school. What do you mean by used to? Did you guys do it more than twice? Yes lol, we did it till the bottle was empty. I have so many questions. It's between throwing my iPhone on cement right before getting into a fight, smashed the screen into tiny pieces, and telling a girl I loved her, and shitting on her boyfriend while blackout drunk. I mean, nothing impresses a girl like scat aggression. Don't know what to say, let my inner caveman fly. I mean, I have some pretty incredible drunk stories from back in the day. None of them compares. So you got that going for you, which is nice. Stole money from a meth head, then told him about it. Easy way to get a revolver in your face if you're into that sort of thing. Why on earth would you snitch on yourself, especially to a meth head? I'd have just assumed they'd stolen as much from someone else in some fashion and let the universe take one off of my Paragon score. Gonna go out on a limb and suggest maybe drugs were involved. Possibly meth. Why on earth would you snitch on yourself? Has doing it again right now. When I was little I ate Comet, the cleaning chemical, because I thought it was mozzarella cheese. I sprinkled it on my pizza and after the first bite, quickly realized it wasn't cheese. Edit. For those that don't know, Comet is bleach that comes in a green bottle. To my young brain it looked exactly like the mozzarella cheese you would dazzle on a slice of pizza that would also come in a green bottle. I think I grew up fine since then. You didn't. Because all this time, you thought it was mozzarella cheese. It's Parmesan cheese in the green can. Another really stupid thing I did was let my drunk friend throw a rusty metal dart into my back. We were at a party in college when we saw a rusty throwing dart sitting on top of the fridge. As a joke I said, hey, I bet if you threw that in my back it would stick. He said of course it wouldn't, you fucking idiot. For some reason this made me irrationally angry. By some reason, I mean a lot of booze. I said alright then, prove it. We went outside in the below freezing cold to let him throw it at my shirtless back. He lobbed it one time and it didn't stick in. He started bragging that he was right. This was my chance to get off cheaply, but my drunk ego got in the way. I said, you barely even threw it, you pussy. Throw it harder. Holy shit, did he throw it harder? It went right into my back. It was so deep in there that I was walking around the party with it in there while letting people take pictures with it. My mom made me go to the hospital for a tetanus shot the next day. One of the nurses said I was lucky because if it went in a few inches over it cold have punctured my lung. 0 tenths for the experience. 10 tenths for the street cred. Started smoking. Well said. I'm trying to quit again tomorrow. Only attempt 100 or something. You can do it. Stop smoking subreddit is great. I've been away from cigarettes for over 2 years now. I was told about cancer growing up, but I always knew that, even if it was difficult, I could always quit. What my parents and school failed to tell me about the other part of tobacco is the worst part now. Nicotine is a seriously addictive drug. You don't just get it all out of your system and wait a few months and you're fine 2 years on, and there is not a single day that goes by where I haven't thought about how much I'd like a smoke at least 3 times. I'm miserable and I want to smoke, but I don't because I already have heart problems and I don't need to make them worse. Oh, no. I'm sorry. I'm lucky now. It never crosses my mind, and the smell is repulsive. Stay strong, and I hope it gets easier. You should be so proud of yourself for overcoming it when it's so hard. Good luck. I was at a show and bought a beer. The kind with the magnetic hole in the bottom. Was playing around with it until I pressed the hole and all my beer fell out lol. What kind of screwed up world do we live in that there is beer with magnetic holes in the bottom? What is hole meant to be for? Fills the glass from the bottom. Got really high while home alone and decided to eat my girlfriend's zucchini bread. Basically my high brain only sent a single chew command followed by our instantly regretful swallow. I felt the gigantic chunk of once chewed bread lodged in my throat immediately. My first step was to try to take a drink of water to wash it down, and I could literally feel the cold stop halfway down my throat. Then panic set in, and I grabbed a chair from the table and tried giving myself the Heimlich to no avail. I stood up, and for the first time in my life I could see the darkness coming in from the outside of my vision. I could feel myself starting to pass out, and decided to go for broke, and just shoved my entire hand down my throat, and broke it up. Took a huge gasp, saw stars, and had throat skin under fingernails. Throat hurt for a good couple weeks, but at least I'm alive. Happy you're alive too. That's terrifying. Tell me about it. I'm lucky it was bread. If it was steak I would have probably just pushed it deeper. It honestly gives me goosebumps to think about, and it happened a couple years ago. Chew your food. One time, as a kid, I was so excited to be eating mozzarella sticks that I half-assed chewing one. I started choking, but my family was still in the car, so my parents didn't know what to do but freak out and drive faster. My instinct? Reach to the back of my mouth and pull it out, forcing my brother and mom to watch me do this. Luckily I didn't have to go in my throat like you did tbh. It scared me slightly, but I just went back to eating straight after, making sure to take smaller bites. Create a friend-only law, where when we get drunk, and one of us puts the empty box of beer on our heads, we are fully entitled to punch the box as hard as we want. Boxhead isn't a fun game. You don't have to put the box on your head. Easier said than done when you're not a dozen beers in with young adult hormones, and one of your friends just called you pussy. When I was a kid, my father took me to the depth store to buy a new winter jacket. He complained the whole time about the cost of new coat. Fast forward to later that day, I was in the garage playing and I came across a can of blue spray paint. I shook it a few times and became very curious as to what was inside of that can that was clicking around. I secured the can in the vise and gave it a good solid whack with the claw side of a hammer. It was a wooden ball. I got hit a lot. I never knew what is inside of the cans. I would bust it open with an axe, but I don't want to clean it after. Sounds like a learning experience to me. I once hit myself in the face with the door while opening a door. To this day I'm still not sure how I pulled it off, but it happened. I once did the same thing, got knocked down in the front of my whole camp cabin, and said that's a really soft door. It's been 6 fucking years and nobody will let me live it down. When I was like 3 I decided it'd be a good idea to eat a chicken nugget without chewing it. I have no idea how I'm still alive. I've ordered a fucking chicken nugget and natural selection didn't get me somehow.